What's up, everybody? Charlie here with AI Code Central podcast. You've got Connor Douglas
What up? What up?
here. This is episode 22 and special guest Mallory Lore. She is a boss,
Yeah,
formerly
she's a
from
beast.
Bolt.new. She is a marketer, brand builder, and just overall badass.
Yeah.
Um,
It was
Very
great,
good.
great conversation with her. Just,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think a lot of cool insights, especially just being at Bolt. She really helped put together what the hackathon that they had, that month-long hackathon, which was awesome to learn about and hear more
World's
about from her
largest,
perspective.
yeah, world's largest hackathon. She put that thing on, which is man, I was in it. I had like four projects. I think. Or no, I think you can only do one, but I remember like thinking I have access to this thing for a month,
Yeah.
Bolt. And then I was like, oh my God, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. I can, that's and then I of course just got distracted. I probably went to go ride my bike or something. I don't
As one does,
know.
Charlie, as we both
Yeah, yeah,
do. That's just the way our minds work. So,
yeah.
not the end of the world.
But she's awesome. She's great. Learned so much. Like you will learn as a app builder, entrepreneur, builder, whatever it is. You will learn the importance of a brand, how to build a brand, and what it can do for your app and your AI company.
Yep. And I mean, it's coming directly from somebody who's done it in the AI space. So, you guys are getting it, direct.
Yeah, I mean she built bolts, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome. But
So
what's going on, Charlie? You give
uh
me the spiel, man. What's up in your world?
okay, a couple things as I pull up my notes. Yeah, I shared that video with you of Red Bull Rampage that was over the weekend. Those guys are
Wild.
lunatics. Yeah, you're basically cliff jumping on mountain bikes. And I can't do that. Maybe like one of those, maybe like the smaller one. But there was two big crashes. There, one guy, I think he broke his hip. I,
It
I
sounds
want
like
to say,
so much fun, man. You're really
uh,
selling me on doing this kind of stuff at
well,
some point in my
when
life.
you land it, there's no, and like one thing that like because you're going down a mountain basically, like you're going
Yeah,
down these
yeah.
cliffs on these giant mountain bikes. One thing that people like don't realize, and you can't really train for it, like you just have to do it, is the G forces that you take. So when you go down something so vertical and then you get shot straight up, so like this, and if
Right.
you're just listening, just pull over and pull out YouTube. Just go straight down and then you ramp back up and you have like a giant lip that'll just shoot you in the air. I mean, you will go flying in the air, and it's the weirdest feeling in the world. I couldn't imagine. I do it like a smaller scale. I can imagine doing it what those guys do in the
I mean, it's
bigger scale.
like a roller coaster, but you're not strapped in anything, more or less,
Yeah,
no?
that's kind of the fun and the terrifying part because you can have really bad crashes. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, hopefully those guys are okay. That was the women competed on Saturday and the men competed on Sunday. So that was over the weekend. That was cool. I watched that event. Again, that's Red Bull Rampage. Great event. Hopefully everybody's okay. Uh, I'm still waiting on maybe Google's being a rascal. I don't know. This Google Ads API that I'm waiting on. So we initially this is for campaign pilots, the app that we're building. Um, so the we're waiting on the API for Google Ads, and we initially got like the smaller API, and then as I'm like integrating it, working with it, and everything, it's like okay, no, you're gonna need a bigger production API. So go back to Google request access. Now we're in like, it's hurry up and wait. That's the stage we're in. So I've kind of got poopy pants about that. Hopefully get it in the next 1 to 2 days.
You think Google's a pain, man. Wait till we get over to Meta and try and do something with their APIs.
Oh,
That'll
yeah.
be a headache, but
Um,
worth it.
so waiting on that. And then we're like 90% there getting this thing launched out, which is super exciting. Friday night, we girlfriend and we watched like a little marathon, maybe like 2 hours. Just stayed in because we're getting old.
Yeah, yeah.
We stayed in and watched Key and Peele, and I forgot how
Oh, I
unbelievably
love that show.
funny that show is. That show is so funny.
It's so
Uh,
good.
we watched. I don't remember the character's name, but he's like, "I'll have what I'm having. I'll have what I'm having." He's got the continental breakfast. I was dying laughing. I was like, "Oh my God, this is so great." This is so awesome. And of course, the proud thug. And it's funny because like his name is Carlito.
Yeah.
And yeah. So of course I thought that was funny. Great show. And the guy that doesn't waste the 40, he's like pouring out
Oh
his
yeah,
40.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
That's
And
good
he's got
too.
like the little bowl under. I
I
was
love that
dying to
show.
laugh.
There's a few good ones where I mean, there's one where they're playing. I think what is it? What's the board game you play? It's not World of Warcraft. That's the video game. What's the one where you sit down and you actually play with like all the pieces? Like, oh, I'm trying to.
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, I don't
Risk?
want to
Risk?
waste too much time. No, it's not Risk. It's like, man, I wish I could remember, but it's just
I haven't
really
seen it.
funny. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know. I wish could remember to tell you guys, so I don't want to waste any more time.
Such a good show. So funny. So funny. Watched some of that. That was Friday. And then Sunday, um, we did pumpkin carving.
Oh,
So
had to do the fall stuff with the girlfriend.
yeah, yeah.
It's an
So we did
essential.
so we did so like you stencil it out and then you get like the perforator, the little
Yep.
poker, and then you poke around it and then
We
you
have them
just get
sitting on
the
our table right now. We were supposed to carve
okay,
pumpkins like 2 weeks ago, and the carving kit is still sitting on our kitchen table, just
two
waiting
weeks
to be
ago.
used. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe today, who knows?
Um so knock that out. I have a badass carved pumpkin, thank you. And that was cool. I mean it's not it didn't take as long as I thought it
What'd
would
you
take
carve in the
to
pumpkin?
carve just like a jack-o'-lantern, just
Oh,
like
that's
with
cool.
some teeth and yeah. And then we started to watch Hill House, Hill on the House in the Hill. Is that what
House
it's
on,
on
isn't it
Netflix.
like a horror thing?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've seen it before. I
Have you?
have, yeah, a while back. Because
Is
didn't
it
that come
good?
out a couple years ago?
Yeah, it came out like
Yeah,
pre-COVID. I
I
think it was
remember
like
watching it. It was
2018.
pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it
Fits the
seemed
season.
pretty yeah, it seemed pretty scary. And we were like I mean you have a good like the kids like falling asleep and there's just like this thing just like right here. I'm like,
Yeah. If you don't
that's
like horror, don't watch it. It'll freak you out a little bit, but
or if you have problems sleeping like I do.
or that. How'd you sleep
Um,
after that, Charlie?
Actually, pretty good. You know, I lifted that night, and I
Oh.
always sleep better after I lift. So actually,
I think
not
that's like
not
a
bad.
given, man. Anytime I work out, I was at the gym early, like I try and make a point to go like at least 3 days a week to the gym, and then I'll do
Hmm.
like a run or a bike ride myself. Not like you're biking, it's like straight road bike, like
Cliff.
yeah. No, that thing I would die if I went on any cliffs with my street bike. It
I
would
almost
just
did.
like
Oh, sorry. Oh,
crumple.
yeah.
But
I think I don't know. Just like maybe like after working out, I think my body just relaxes, and then I can just kind of like pass out pretty quick.
yeah, I'm sure there's some
I
science
think
backing to that too. I think it's a
yeah,
thing. Like if you work out or whatever, it helps alleviate stress and helps with sleep and all that good stuff. So I
yeah.
try to get to it as best I can.
The hard part now is like I'm getting into playing hockey again. This the season, and
Tis the
I
season.
I don't play in the summer, so you know if we have an ice time at like 10 p.m., we're off the ice at 11:30. Back, you know, you got to have a beer with the guys. And then you're back home around 12:30, and it's just like you're so wired, and
I can
that's
never
when it's
do that. I had a buddy who did that, like did like, the hockey league stuff. And he's like,
yeah,
oh, you want to like come like, hang out for a game or something? They're a lot of fun. I'm like, oh, what time's the game? 10, 11. Sometimes they start at 12. Like,
really in New
dude,
York.
yeah, they would start at like 12 o'clock. Like, this is out in Long Island, so it's not in the
Oh,
city, but it's
is
like, yeah,
that
12 o'clock game on like a Friday. It'll be at like
oh
12.
jeez,
And
is
I'm
that
like, you're nuts.
is that Chelsea Piers?
No, no, no. It's somewhere in Long Island. I don't know
Oh, it's
specifically
not
where
Long
they
Island. Okay,
play, but I think it's a place called the Rinks that's been around forever. I used to ice skate there as a kid and stuff, but
okay,
they'll have a couple different rinks and everything. And yeah, they'll just
yeah.
play through like 10, 11, 12 o'clock. It's insane.
Oh, that is brutal.
Like you said, by the time you get home, it's got to be 1:32, and it's like I can never come back home from somewhere and just immediately go to sleep. I need to like come back,
Yeah,
like kind of like reset, like, wind
yeah.
down, like, chill out, and then I can like really start going to sleep. But I can never just, I don't know how people do that. Just come home and they're like, yep, wash up, change, get into bed and fall asleep easily. It's just, I wish I had that superpower.
Yeah, that's kind of I've been doing it for like 20 years, so
You're used to
kind
it.
of yeah, a little here and there. So anyway, that was my exciting weekend. What did you get into?
That's cool, man. I mean, weekend was all right. I'm trying to think of anything major. I really want to. I already spoke to you about this, but the AWS outage yesterday. Did that impact you at all with anything? Were
Um
you even aware of the AWS
s-
outage? It sort of sounds like you're like, I have no clue that
yeah, like
AWS had an outage.
I I knew about it, and then I think Greg Eisenberg tweeted just a reminder that every company is like a AWS wrapper or something
Yeah,
like that. I was like, oh yeah,
100%.
it's
Dude, there
dang.
was if you go like, go on X or wherever, LinkedIn, it's like it's all over the place, but typically X I think is where I saw this, and Down Detector is what I typically go to if an app's not working. I just want to make sure it's not me or my computer and other people are facing the same issue. And somebody has this pulled up and they're just scrolling on their phone through every company in Down Detector and it's all flat. And then
Oh.
yesterday morning, I'm telling you, everybody, this is Google, this is Asana, Klaviyo, MailChimp,
Oof.
Shopify. It's like everything, and you don't realize it, right? You're like, yeah, AWS servers are great. Like I even have things set up through there, like middleware components and API calls, but
Mhm.
you just don't realize how many companies are like Greg Eisenberg said, it's just wrappers and
Mhm.
it's all on AWS. Like they control so much. And it literally rendered like my job useless yesterday. Like there was nothing I could do outside of like Microsoft Outlook and some Microsoft programs. And I just don't run a lot on Microsoft, right? So it's like having to run something in Google Ads wouldn't work right. Setting, DNS records in Google Workspace. Nope. Asana, that's my project management system. Nothing. I have 12 clients in Klaviyo who needed help yesterday, and it's like, can't log in there. And until I can't really help with anything. It was a gift and a curse. It was nice to have a kind of some breathing, room throughout the day and not so much of just like, okay, I have 20 things I need to cross off my checklist. But it did create a whirlwind and where today, tomorrow, the rest of the week is just going to be catching up because Monday was
Yeah.
such
Yeah.
such a
Yeah.
disaster. And it's just funny to me because it seems like AWS didn't really like if something like that happens again and it happens over the course of a week, like what are you going to do? They had playoff baseball games yesterday. They had Monday night football and the apps that run on AWS servers couldn't retrieve the tickets from people who had bought it. And thankfully they got it fixed in time or had some workaround. But it's like, what happens if that goes down for a week? Do you just delay sporting events? Do you just like everything goes on pause, right? It's like there's car dealerships who use that for their CRM and their sales data. And it's like, what, like, I guess you're not selling cars for a week because AWS is down. So I think it was just very interesting, not only because of the impact it had on me, which I think is very minimal, but how much did that impact other businesses who rely on AWS to
Yeah.
make money, right? How much profit did some businesses miss out on all day yesterday that AWS might be responsible for, or maybe not? Who knows? Is that a class action lawsuit? Is that just oops, it happened and it won't happen again? I'm just very curious as to what the aftermath looks like beyond day one of fixing it. What are they going to put in place to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Did
So
they acknowledge it?
they
They
acknowledge
had
it.
to have like,
It's like they acknowledge it,
here's
and
what we're
it's
doing to
almost
fix it, or
yeah, it's really funny because some of their updates, and again, I'm technical, but to an extent, right? I can kind of have my ceiling as well, and some of their updates were just so it was like this mysterious way of saying something of like servers and degradation, and we're working on it. It's like you'd have to read it, and it was like reading Greek to me. I was just like, okay, it sounds like you're working on it, but you don't have any timeline of when it'll be back up. And the fixes that you're implementing, I literally have no idea what you're talking about. So I think they could have done a better job in terms of plain speak, right? In terms of like, yep, we're working on it. We know there's an issue with our servers, and just try and make it a little bit more, I don't know, simplistic in terms of explaining what actually happened. But
yeah.
they were updating it. They were kind of on top of it, but so was every other platform. And again, it's just everything's fine now. I don't think it's the end of the world. Those things happened. I just do think it makes you take a step back and say, okay, well, if AWS controls this much, is that actually really something
Man.
you want too? Like,
Yeah.
do you
It's
want
scary,
AWS
huh?
to control all of it? Because if someone gets their hands on it and it's the wrong person, it's like I don't know, they probably have all this data at their disposal to do whatever they want with.
The
So
honeypot. Yep.
yep. It just kind of it brought up a lot of questions for me. I think really interesting topics of discussion with colleagues on just how that gets handled moving forward. Because it was a disaster yesterday, and the aftermath, it's still yet to kind of be figured out, I think.
I don't watch this show anymore, but wasn't there a South Park episode where they moved to California for the internet?
Oh, I don't know.
That sound
I don't know. I
familiar?
love South Park too. I just haven't
Like
seen every episode.
grapes of wrath or whatever, and they You have to like move across the country for the
Maybe,
interview.
maybe. It sounds like it's something South Park would do. But you know what, though? For me, it honestly was. It was a nice way to kind of like step back and
Yeah,
get out
I bet that's
yesterday.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like I wasn't getting a ton of emails outside of the ones like, well, what can we do? And it was like, well, I can't do anything. I don't run AWS. I just, do your other marketing stuff. But
Yeah.
when I played golf, I played golf for 9 holes, and it was like, hey, I have a couple hours here. Let's enjoy it as opposed to just sitting here and twiddling my thumbs waiting for something to happen.
Bam.
So.
Love it.
So it was a
Cool.
beautiful day. The weather's been gorgeous here, all that jazz. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. That was my update. Weekend was, kind of boring, which I appreciate. It's always nice to have some downtime. But yeah, AWS, man, crazy stuff.
Did, huh? Well, we're gonna wrap up here. We're gonna get to the interview with Mallory, and again, she was formerly with Bolt.new, built the brand there. She put together the world's largest hackathon. You will learn what is branding, the importance of it, why to do it, how to do it, and yeah, great interview for
All right,
sure.
let's
So,
get her in.
what's up, everyone? We are here sitting down. We've got the GOAT of AI branding, formerly with Bolt.new and Discord. We are pleased and very lucky to have her as a guest today. Mallory Lore. Am I saying your last name correct? Lore? Mallory
Yes,
Lore?
you got it. You got it. What's up,
Okay.
everyone? This is so
Mallory,
exciting.
what's up? We're excited to have you on
Yes.
here.
Very
Heck
excited.
yes.
So, in the past, it's been a couple days, right? Maybe a couple of weeks since transitioning out of Bolt.new. What have you? How's life been, other than Animal Crossing and a couple
And
couple
Hello
games here
Kitty.
and
Oh, we're
Treasure
gonna
Yes,
get into
Island?
that.
Miffy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
We're gonna
have
get
an
into that.
intense collection or intense passion for collecting Miffy bunnies. So I'm doing that, spending time with family, friends, enjoying the semi-partial unemployed life, which is not, I'm not going to complain about that. But yeah, it's been a few weeks since I left Bolt, and I'm kind of in the midst of resting, figuring out what's next, and then to some extent, getting started on what's next. And then just having conversations with folks like yourself, which is also great.
Sweet. We love that. Have you been enjoying the time off? Or do you find yourself like not really knowing what to do with all the free time? Because I'm sure at both previous positions, you were just working almost nonstop.
Yes, pretty much. I mean, I will say I think I'm really lucky because after I left Discord, I had about like a 6, 7 month sabbatical slash time off, which was really,
Nice.
as someone who is like an overachiever my whole life, always working hard, right? Like, and taking pride in that, to go from that, like a unicorn fast growing startup to then being
Hmm.
like, I have nothing on my calendar. I have nothing to do as a transition because it takes weeks to just get out of the sort of everyday routines that you get used to when you're at a company or a startup long term. And so I would find myself waking up, going straight to my computer and be like, "Oh, no one's emailing me. Oh, wait, no one's messaging me on Discord. Oh, wait, I don't have 10 meetings on my like, and you have to kind of, yeah, you got to like change that up, and that's not easy to do. I think it takes weeks
It
to
sounds
sort
like a
of.
dream to me to
No,
just
it's a
wake up
dream.
and like
It's a
not
dream.
have the
As in, it's
emails or the
not real.
Discord messages, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not real, right? It's like
No, it's not real. It's not real.
it's almost it reminds me of like when you go on a vacation and it takes you like well, for me at least, it always takes like 1 or 2 days to really get into like vacation mode where you're just like, okay,
Yeah,
I don't have to answer work emails, I don't have to be responsible for this, and then by like day 2 or 3 you're like, great, you're more accustomed to not answering the phone or answering emails, etc. So I guess it
yeah.
sounds a little bit like that, if anything.
It is. And then it's filling up your time with the things that bring you back to life, the things that bring you joy. And quite frankly, for me, and I'm still working through this, but most places I work at, I tend to just burn myself out. And it's because I really enjoy the work and I put my all into it. And I think, and that also includes my creative powers. And what I've learned from jumping from place to place and all of my different experiences is that I kind of put all of my creativity into one place and then there's nothing left for me. And so I had spent all of that time, like post Discord and even the end of my time at Discord and even at Bolt, like after I left Bolt, I found myself singing again, which I love to sing. I'm a very
Oh, that's
creative
awesome.
person,
Cool.
very, very creative person. And to me, like what I've learned is that you can't let your job, take away all of your creative power and energy. Like you have to leave some of that for yourself in whatever way that works for you. And I find that, yeah, it is weird to like, and it's the dream to like be like, oh, I'm unemployed for a specific amount of time and I get to just own my time, and do the things that'll bring me back to life. Because if I
Right.
do that, what happens is that I have the answer as to what I will be doing next. It comes to me, right? And the only way it comes to me is by allowing that space. And it is a privilege, and I know that, and I always tell people that like not most people can't be like, oh, I'm gonna peace out and not work for 6 months. Like that's not realistic. So I'm very lucky, but I tend to that's kind of like the cycle I go through when I take these like mini periods of time off.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get that.
It almost sounds like an entrepreneurial approach to things, like where you want to focus on some of the things you love, but not take too much time doing that, and maybe have some other side projects going on the side. I mean, Charlie, you're the exact persona of that, right? It's like you have your focus, and then you have your side projects that you're really, really passionate about that kind of keep you from going insane, I think, from the mundane day-to-day cycle of what you would call your 9 to 5, I guess.
Yeah, I think, and I'll back up too and say that there's a fine line between entrepreneurship and unemployment, and I have definitely walked that line for a couple months after
Yeah.
my sales job. Oh yeah, I was unemployed. I got in really good shape, and then I got really, really good at hockey, and I got so stupid, and then just I just wasn't flexing my brain, and then
Yeah.
I had to learn to code. I had to learn something, just put your brain power towards something. But yeah, as far as like having something, some sort of purpose. But yeah, I was burned out. Like I totally get that, Mallory. That's yeah, yeah. I know what that feels like for sure. So that
Yeah.
kind of takes us into our first question, Mallory, as far as what you're doing with Bolt and Discord, and what you've accomplished in your career. What is it that got you into branding? Was it like a single event, or was it just like maybe an idea that you had, and you're like, all right, I'm going into branding.
Oh, that's a great question, and a question that I've never answered. And now I'm sitting here and I'm like, what really
I
did
see
get me
it.
into branding?
I
Because
see the wheels
I
turning.
I was like, well, I didn't really start as a brand marketer, and I kind of just was a jack of all trades, doing all parts of marketing. And I think both of you probably have had somewhat of a similar experience. Um, but I think it has to do with my start in community marketing and really sort of, I think, tapping into building a community for any brand, including myself. I did that for myself and then
Hmm.
eventually would do that for businesses. And that does translate to branding because ultimately, I think that a lot of community marketing is based off building relationships, vibes-based marketing, which is what I like to call brand marketing. And I think over time, what I had found was like I was starting to do community marketing, then I was doing content marketing, then I was doing event marketing, and I kind of was able to start really understanding all these different parts of marketing. But the reality is like you can't have amazing marketing unless you're able to take a step back and understand like how is this all consistent with one another? How do all of these things work together? What is the positioning with all of these things? And the way in which you do that is through brand marketing,
Mm.
and just understanding the foundational elements of your brand and your company. And I don't think I was really able to understand that until I worked on my full brand project at Discord, which was rebranding the company to expand outside of games, but I was building the brand earlier on at my time there, but I didn't know I was doing it. I was just doing
Yeah.
it. And what I mean by that is like, I'd get some folks together in the office and we'd film a really silly vlog where we'd go around the office and we'd give people a tour. And that video got like millions of views. And people are like, oh, wow, like they're like cool people that work here. And I want to work there too. And like that kind of helped build the brand and build the vibes of the brand, but I didn't know it was brand marketing. I was just doing it like that. So I
Mm.
didn't really know I was doing brand marketing until I think probably halfway through my time at Discord, where I was like, okay, we are, it's the pandemic. We are, all these different people are using our platforms, whether it's like teachers trying to connect with students or artists that are, they can't go on tour. So they need to find a way to, interact with their fans. And so all of these people are coming to this platform and we're not just for games anymore. And our brand is so games heavy. So how do we expand that? So that was the first time that I had to take the work that I had done in the first few years of me building the brand, which is hard because I think brand marketing is so emotional, which is what
Hmm.
I love about brand marketing because it's the one component in all of marketing where it's like you can infuse the humanness, the creativity, the passion, the energy. And look, not that you can't do that with SEO marketing, okay? I'm sure there is. I
No,
just
you
haven't
can't.
discovered
I don't know
that
about
No,
that one.
absolutely not.
I don't know about that
But
one, but
I think that's like what brand marketing has. And so for the first time, I had to be like, wow, I've done all this great work, but now we have to redo it. And so I had to kind of take my emotions out of what I had just built so that I could rebuild with the rest of the company. And that was kind of when I realized, I'm like, oh, this is what brand marketing is all about. It's about keeping things consistent. It's about like what are our values as a company? It's about what's our brand personality, voice, and tone, and how do we infuse that through everything, whether it's the way we talk to customers or the way we interact with each other or whatever, right? Like,
yeah. Uh,
and that to me was when I kind of started being like, this is cool. I want to do more of this.
so you just kind of found yourself doing it without being cognizant of doing it, and then you're like, okay, I'm pretty good at this. And then, so was there like a moment in time where you're like, okay, now I understand what brand marketing is, or I know that this is what I'm doing. I'm pretty good at it. You know, how do I make it better? And is that when you really started like, peeking behind the curtain of like, okay, how do I push certain buttons, pull certain levers to, I guess I use the word optimize brand marketing for, whatever brand it is.
Absolutely. I think, but when I was able to start doing that work, I was then able to understand what are the components that make a really great brand, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I like to do brand marketing is because it's extremely creative and it's very subjective and all the things I mentioned earlier about making people feel things. And so, yeah, I think it was like taking all of those pieces and then being able to approach various companies and startups and breaking that down for them. And most founders and companies don't understand brand. They think it's just like, oh, like it looks really pretty and the packaging's really cool and the
Yeah.
website's neat and like
Yeah.
and it is that, yes, totally. I think that's a part of that. But it's also the way you position yourself in the market, right? Like, especially me just coming from Bolt. I mean, the amount of vibe coding tools that are in that space, you're competing against not just all of these other startups that are popping up overnight, but
Yeah.
you're competing against OpenAI, you're competing against, Google and Claude, like, and so positioning and branding are like one of the many levers that you can pull to be successful, but matter because and you guys know this, right? Like you have what? It's like half a second to a second to really capture someone's attention.
Yep.
And guess what? It's got to be vibes based. Like that's what it's going to be, especially in consumer marketing, right? Like the first zero point 0.5 to 1 second of that impression really matter. Like especially like from where I was just coming from in a space where everyone's building a vibe coding tool. So it's super important to stand out.
Perception is huge.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
As far as vibes based for our builder and vibe coding audience, what does that mean? And can you share a couple tips on that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think first it's a few things. It's about understanding who you're targeting, right? And it's interesting because I talk to a lot of folks and they're like, well, I'm targeting everyone. Okay, if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking your product is going to target everyone, I really want to challenge you to go back to the drawing board and really understand who your customer is. Because when you're for everyone, especially initially when you're building a product, you are for no one, right? Unless you are a Nike, unless you are, yeah,
That
just
takes
a bigger
forever.
company.
Yeah.
It takes
Yeah.
forever to build. Like you can't do that, right? So really understand who your customer is. Who are those like 1 to 3 personas that you're really sort of targeting? And to me, that's a very important step because you can't do all of the positioning and the messaging and the branding work without understanding who your customer is. So that's the first step. Another sort of tip that I tend to give founders and folks that are building is, especially if you're lucky to have a lot of users. So say you're a platform that has, thousands of users, how can you tap into them to better understand how they talk about your product and your brand. Because I'm very big on utilizing the words that users say or customers say within your marketing, right? So, for example, deploying a survey and saying, how would you describe XYZ brand to your friend, right? Just
Right.
that question alone will get you all of these different answers. And when you start looking at those answers, you should ask yourself, like, what are the trends? Like, what are the frequent words that I'm seeing and how people are describing my product, right? And then take that and apply it to your marketing, right? It's because if that's how people are talking about your product and perceiving your product and it's working in a way where it's like they're probably telling their friends or other folks about, your product or your brand or your app, um, that will be marketing that will convert back.
What about like social listening tools also, Mallory? Like, have you ever used that? Because like that's exactly what that reminded me of. You're like, yep, see what other people are saying. I use social listening tools all the time to help clients understand the perception of their brand, their offer, the value that it brings to somebody, and what people are. I mean, you're seeing in real time what people are saying on any given platform with these social listening tools, which I think is really pertinent to understanding how to serve them better moving forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. I always tend to use any social listening tools anytime I'm working with a specific brand or company to not just understand that perception that you mentioned, Connor,
Yeah,
but to also understand how like the competitive landscape, right? So how are, the users that we're trying to target talking about similar products as well? And how do
good
users
point.
perceive those
Yep.
competitors, right? Because that's going to help inform your positioning. And what I mean by positioning, right, is like, okay, if you know there are these many players in the space, where do you lie within that range, right? And how are you going to be different? And you can't really know that unless you understand your competitors and how users are perceiving your competitors. So that's something that I really love to do with social listening tools as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. And then I guess on the topic of brand still and all this stuff, I think one challenge I would find, or I have found sometimes, it's like it's not measurable the same way performance marketing is, right? Like I'm a performance marketer through and through. It's like, okay, great. I'll go to the analytics and I'll show you attribution. Branding, that seems so much tougher to kind of put a pulse on to say, hey, you started here and now you're here. I think there's a few things, but how do you prove performance? How do you prove
Yeah.
that your branding has, you know, helped optimize everything for them?
It's such a great question and has been really a challenge, I think, for a lot of founders and builders that I've met to really understand the value and importance of it. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's all vibes based. It's a mix of two things. It's a mix of awareness, and then it's also a mix of sentiment, right? So you really, I think, when it comes to consumer like apps and platforms, you really have to hit a user. I think it's like between or a person between 5 to 10 different times for them to potentially convert. And that could be in a lot of different ways, right? That could be definitely from a paid ad, but it could also be from, the organic social channels, your website, word of mouth, an ad that they saw while they were driving, whatever it may be. An influencer that also talked about it. And to me, the more awareness you have as a brand is great. It helps a lot with word of mouth marketing, which is the strongest type of marketing, I think, that will
Absolutely
really,
is. Yeah.
especially for consumer marketing. Like you can't really have a healthy consumer product without a strong word of mouth funnel. So I do think that so awareness and then of course sentiment, right? So how are users actually not just perceiving your brand, but how engaged are they with it, right? How like ultimately it feeds into the awareness part because if you're able to have really positive sentiment with your users, you best believe that your word of mouth flywheel is just only going to be stronger, right? And so it's not just about, oh, how are our users how much do they love our platform or how are they talking about it positively on all these social channels? Yes, it's that. But it's also, right, like out of your subset of users, who are your super fans and how can you really
Hmm.
engage and reward them? Right and that is a part of brand marketing to really sort of get that flywheel going. Is it a program you need to build for them? Like is there a way you can incentivize them? How can you better build that relationship? because it is an upfront sort of investment, but it will result in growth over time. And there are ways to measure that very precisely if you build like a community program or a referral program, as an example,
Yep.
where you can better track that. But yeah, those are, I think, some of the ways
That
that we can
answered it. That was
track.
perfect. That was awesome. Makes sense to me.
How do you
Cool.
see, Mallory, how do you see AI companies positioning themselves now in
Oh my
terms of
God.
branding and
I
um,
feel like that's such a loaded question though too, because it's like everybody just
is that
slaps AI on the back end of their name now just to sound like they're. Am I not wrong in that? Like I feel like so many people are just like, yeah, we're just gonna put AI
it's like
on it, and
blockchain in 2018?
yeah, it's like because it sounds cool, and everybody thinks
Yeah.
it's like the modernized approach to things, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel
I
like trying to
see.
brand for that is so hard. Sorry, go ahead, Malik.
No, no, sorry. There's two things, okay? So it's either one, what you're marketing to me is so techy that I have no idea what you're freaking talking about. And I'm not
Yeah,
just talking about like startups for developers or for engineers. Of course that type of marketing is going to be more technical, and that makes sense. Going back to everything we've been talking about, I'm talking about like consumer AI platforms that are trying to speak to like folks like ourselves. And I just don't understand like what is being marketed to me. So there's that. And then there's the other part of it that I see a lot of, which is, AI is going to replace like this is like the last piece of software you're ever going to need, or, AI is going to replace your CTO, or
Yeah.
AI is going to, and I just like, it's just really tone deaf, right? If you have any idea on where the everyday consumer is at right now, you'll know that many of them are afraid of this technology. They are afraid that it'll replace their jobs. And I feel like leaning into that narrative it doesn't help, consumers have it's not going to want them it's not going to make them want them to use your product is what I'm trying to say. Yes. So those are like the two sides that I see is like either it's too techy or it's kind of like anti-human type of
it's
marketing.
a good
And
point.
so those are the two things that I see. I'm not saying that no one's doing it right. There's definitely AI brands that I think fall in the middle, but that's kind
Mhm.
of like what I tend to see, especially living in San Francisco, where every billboard and every ad I'm being served to is a tech ad. So I see a lot more of it than the everyday person because of where I live, but it tends to fall in those two places.
Yeah, that
Got
kind
it.
of brings up Charlie. We spoke about this too a few weeks ago in terms of branding. It's either ChatGPT or Claude. I don't know how you guys say it, but it's either ChatGPT or Claude. And they had this commercial come out. I thought it, from a branding perspective, great because it was a very soft entry point for somebody to look at and say, okay, I can use it for that. That's awesome. It wasn't this over your head. This is going to replace your copywriter or your PPC manager. It was
Hmm.
literally somebody who was at a park, didn't have a lot of workout equipment, and it said, I need a workout on the fly that I can do with a pull-up bar, a monkey bar, and
Yeah.
I don't know, big paving blocks. And it just kind of spoke to how simple it is to plug things in like that and kind of help ease your life in terms of some of those things that you have to look at. I thought that was great branding in terms of, hey, you can use AI for some of these smaller things. And again, kind of building that entry point for someone who may not be as comfortable using it for something more advanced just yet.
I saw that commercial. I was at a brewery in the mountains, and I it's just like, oh, it's like, holy shit! And it was during a bowl game, and I was like, oh my God, we're here! Like, and I was like grabbing my girlfriend, was like, look. She's like, would you calm the down? And
Well,
I was
I
like,
think
we're
it's such a
here. Like,
great,
that's
it is
really
such a
cool.
great point though, because I mean, maybe it's just me and how I go about things because I've been using Chat and Claude and some other AI tools for a while now. So I'm just accustomed to it, but I don't even go to Google for searches half the time anymore. I will
Really,
literally do searches in
Really?
OpenAI to try and get like responses on things because I just find it's so much more
you,
pointed to what I'm looking for as opposed
you
to Google. You still get the search results. You got to kind of go through them until you find the thing
Yeah.
that you like. And then,
you
you
get an
know,
answer so much quicker, right?
exactly. So
That's
it's
it.
just, I
Yeah.
love it for that
And the other,
purpose. And I am finding myself
yeah,
go that way a little bit more.
yeah. Um, so Mallory, your expertise being in community as well. When and how should an AI startup build a community, and how should they do that?
Hmm. The
Yep.
answer is yesterday.
Oh,
So,
really? Okay.
not to put pressure on it, but it is yesterday. I do think that you don't need a product to build a community. And yeah, like you don't have to like get all those things started for you to kind of get going on building that out. Um, and that was something that I kind of started doing when I was building my startup. Like before we even had a product, it was like, how can I build a small community of testers
Mhm.
and potential customers, right? So folks that I could already talk to do some user research. Like, am I building a product that people really need or want, or am I just building in a vacuum, right? And so there's so many beneficial ways to tap into a community very early on, right? Whether it's user testing, research, I mean, also having them potentially like help be a like help spread the word about your product as well and be like a mini ambassador. Like there's so many different ways to tap into an early stage community if you haven't built one yourself already. And in terms of tips on how to build a community or what that's like, I feel like I'm about to dish out some advice that's going to be super simple, but I would say that building a community requires you to, it's very much so like building a relationship with a friend or anyone else. It's the same, it's like that same sort of, the same sort of thing you would do there is what you would do with a community, right? And you want to make sure you're engaging with them and chatting with them on a very normal basis. And there's so many ways to host a community. It could be through Discord, could be through email, could be through Slack, there's so many different ways, right? But you need to be communicating with them and on a very consistent basis. You need to be learning from them and not just sort of marketing to them. I think that's the thing. It's like, well, am I marketing to them or no? Like you are trying to build a relationship with them over time, is really what you're trying to do. And I would also say that finding ways to reward them as well
Mm.
is goes a really
That's a good
long
one.
way.
Yeah, I haven't really heard that too much from anybody we've had on the rewarding piece of it, right? I mean, everybody is incentivization, right? You give them something for it, and they're typically gonna, respond to it or engage with it. I think Mallory, too, what you're saying a little bit reminds me of like a storytelling aspect to build your community too. Is that something you would implement to help build communities or build, the brand up a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. When I was at Discord, a lot of the programs in the community that we had built was a part of building the brand and a part of specific marketing activations. We would be serving them specific content for that reason, and we knew they'd hype it up, and we knew they'd get really excited about it. For example, every year we would run this event called Snow's Giving, which was an event that would give back to the community. So we would drop specific product features or little cute things in the product that if they signed up for our program, they would be able to get. They'd also communicate with other members. We do like art contests. We do like private concerts where like one during COVID, we'd have like Snoop Dogg and Cascade and all
It's
these folks be
awesome.
like on YouTube
Oh yeah.
and like or like, oh, if react this many times on the last day, we're gonna unleash this like really cool thing for all of you guys. Like we found ways to like get them excited, get them pumped, right? Like make them
Mhm.
feel special, right? And that will help create the FOMO and everything else that I think you're looking to build when you're creating a sick brand, to be honest
Right.
with you.
And that, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mallory, if you have more to that.
No, and then we would like raise, a lot of money for charity, right? So we were giving back not just to the community, but to causes that we cared about. And we did it every single year. And what happened was the community would look forward to it. They'd be like, oh my gosh. And
Mhm.
I can't wait till Snow's Giving. What are they going to do this year? And we did little silly things too. Like we did like a kids box karaoke session with Hype Squatters and they loved that, like one of our community
That's cool.
programs, or we just would give away very silly things or we'd make silly content and that goes a long way because you're acting like you care and you're engaging with them in an authentic and relatable way, right?
Yeah.
That's not just like cookie cutter corporate bullshit.
Right. And
So
I think that kind of goes into, I mean, you're building trust with your
sorry, I don't know if
community.
I can swear, but I
Let
don't
Oh,
it
know.
you're
fly.
good.
Sorry.
Let it
Okay. I
fly.
was like,
I,
You're
oh
I have
totally
no.
good.
said
Let it
I was
go.
like, I
You're
just
great.
said
You're good to go. Curse like a
I have
sailor.
said
Well, maybe
way
not sailor,
worse on
but
here.
okay, okay. I was like, oh no.
no, no, no. You're
Yes.
totally
Okay.
fine. I guess too, that also kind of goes into, I mean, you're building trust, right, with your community and
Yes,
your group
yes.
and credibility. And that kind of
Yes.
leads me to also say I think there is also that fine line a lot of builders and these, AI companies need to get better at is because there's just not a lot of it feels like there's not a lot of transparency into it, right? So it
Thank
takes
you.
away from the
Mm.
Yes.
credibility and the trust. Like, how do you think about
Yes.
that and layering it into brands that you work with?
I love that. I think transparency is very important with community. So thank you for bringing that up, Connor. Like if you want them to be along for the journey, the only way that you can really have them do that in a positive way is by being transparent, right? About how a company operates, the behind the scenes, the product features that you're building. Like if you can be transparent about that, and bring them along for the journey, but also when you mess up, you acknowledge it
Own
and
it.
you own it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because consumers are not dumb. You know, they've seen how many brands get canceled or how many creators go, right? Like if you can just own up to it and be like, "Hey, we messed this thing up and we know we did and we're going to work on it." That is going to create so much respect and trust and it's going to go a long way if you're able to do that, right? Um, so I feel like that's not something I'm seeing a lot in the AI space
I was
or a
gonna
lot in
ask,
tech in
like,
Mm.
general.
do you
I
see
don't see a
some
lot of it.
do you see a lot of companies who are just totally disregarded or just don't make it a priority for themselves in terms of building that up?
I think that there are a lot of companies who are transparent in bringing the community along for the ride, but I think it's really hard for many brands to be very um,
Get them
vulnerable and
involved.
honest when they messed up.
Mm,
Is really more so what I'm saying. But then yes, going to what you were about to say too, Connor, is like getting them involved. Like getting them involved with your brand on a deeper level requires building that relationship,
yeah.
right? And all the things we've kind of been talking about. And that takes time and that takes effort. And that just, and if you're not building that and expect them to like act in a certain way or wonder why they're not showing up, perhaps it's because you haven't invested in much in the relationship. Perhaps it's because you're also targeting the wrong audience. Like there could be so many
Mm.
reasons. Perhaps you're managing it incorrectly. Like I've met so many folks that are trying to build community, but are not really present, are not creating, engaging ways to get people interacting, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's so many ways to kind of look at it. And quite frankly, I will say, like, as someone who's been a community manager, has done a lot of community marketing, it is a 24/7 thing. It is not unfortunately, and I think a lot of companies that I've worked with get really intimidated by community marketing because it is one of those things that kind of just don't stop. And, a lot of folks kind of are just like, how do you really manage that, right?
And you just have to
How do
be
you manage that?
readily available almost
You gotta do
24/7 in order to keep
it.
that going. Yeah, that's a behemoth to
Have
think
Slack
about.
on.
Yeah. And that's not just like a community program or, a Discord server filled with hundreds of thousands of people. That could also include customer support. I'm a very big believer in order to have a healthy community, you must also have healthy customer support. That's extremely
Yeah.
important. If you
Yeah.
show up in your marketing, you show up in your community, and then all of a sudden, like you're not showing up with actual customer support, and you say you do, it's going to leak everywhere. I've seen that happen everywhere. It's like, oh,
Mm.
this Discord server is supposed to be community building, but now it's turned into a customer support channel because
Yep.
we don't have these other channels in place or the resourcing in place to actually manage CX and that support. And to me, that is an important part of brand building, community building, trust building. If you can't be there to fix their problems, they're going to leave. They're going to go to another platform.
Mm.
That is a huge takeaway for our listeners too. And talking about, your first build or trying to deploy something and get it out there. I've worked with companies who, in the past, clients who just haven't had a great customer support setup and they failed because of it. And it happens very, very quickly, right? Like you can't
Yep.
eradicate any negative feelings or connotation towards it. And that community just kind of that community builds upon itself and it's
Yep.
built by your
Oh
customers,
yeah.
right? They're building it without you even being present for it, which is
Yeah, and now
crazy.
you've got a subreddit community that's being built about your brand that you would want to be a positive place where people ask questions and talk positively about your brand, but now it's super negative because you are not actually helping solve their problems
Yep.
on the proper channels. And
Mm.
I've seen many companies and startups go through this. The one thing I will also say about CX and customer support is that I think builders and founders typically think of it as a channel to only solve problems, but to have a really healthy CX team, you also need to make sure that they are engaging with customers positively. So for example, in the early days of Discord, CX was not only responsible for the tickets in the queue, but they were also responsible for responding to every single tweet, every single Instagram comment, every like
That's
across
huge.
every social
Wow.
That's
platform
huge,
and
though.
showing up there. And it's huge
Yeah.
because not only are they of course solving those problems that users need to be solved, but they're engaging with users positively and like it's hard to be in a CX spot sometimes because you're only dealing with frustrations. And so now you have this positive side to your job, where you get to interact with customers positively. And now, right, like between solving their problems and engaging with them positively on social or all these other channels, like that's how you're starting to build a healthy community, right? Like, so that matters. Don't
Yeah.
just build community marketing and
Yep. Yep.
forego customer support. You need to do both.
Reputation
100%.
management. That's
Yep.
really it. 101.
100%. Mallory, you put together the world's largest hackathon. Can you tell us about that? Yeah,
Oh
that
my
is
gosh.
That's
banana land.
baller. Baller.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Good
gosh.
for
Okay,
you.
so
Can you
it
tell
was
us about
super
that? What it
fun.
was like? What was the vision originally? And then was the end result like how you were thinking of it or A to Z?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, yes, I'm so proud of the work that I did at Bolt earlier this year on throwing the world's largest hackathon. And I think it was definitely one of the more positive marketing activations in the AI space this year that was very community oriented. But when I joined Bolt, they had already planned to do the hackathon. So it wasn't like an idea I came up with. Like when I joined the team, it was like heads down running. Like you're not only are you putting together this hackathon, but Mallory, you're pulling together this kickoff party with the chain smokers, and you're doing all these events with designers and all this other stuff. So I kind of just got thrown into the chaos, which is fun for me. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
being
right.
thrown into the chaos of work and problem solving and figuring things out. But basically, it came from the community. So um, there's an amazing person on Twitter called KP who basically tweeted out, if Lovable or Bolt or any other vibe coding tool this year tries to pull off the world's largest hackathon, like that's going to be the biggest marketing stunt of the year. And so Eric Simons, who's the CEO of Bolt, responded to it and was like, "We're going to do it," which is I love Eric. He's very much so like sees the idea on X and he's like, "We're gonna do it." And now the
Sweet.
team internally is like,
Cool.
"Okay, we're gonna rally behind this." So it started off very organically on X. Eric was like, let's run with it. We did a kickoff party. And then from there, we had 2 weeks to actually plan the whole hackathon, which is insane. And our goal was to break the world record. And when I was talking to Guinness World Records, they said the world record was 66,700 participants that also created a project. So you had to participate and you had to create a project essentially. So I was like, we've done no marketing for this thing, and now we have 2 weeks, and we're gonna get how many people? So I was telling Eric, I was like, look, okay, I've done a lot of big activations, but I'm a little nervous about hitting this like 100K number that we've set up for ourselves, considering like we just started marketing. And then we looked at our signups and it was like a few thousand. I'm like, we've got some serious, serious work to do. So within a matter of 2 weeks and a team of pretty much one person at the time, especially in the beginning, yeah, we our chief of staff signed up to like work with 20 sponsors. So like there was a little bit of that work done, but it was like, okay, but how do they like show up during this? Like what's the content like? What's the run of show? Like what's So from there, it was like, okay, we've got 20 sponsors, all these different companies in the AI space. We've got a panel of 40 judges. You're talking about, engineers, entrepreneurs, VCs, investors and creators as well, and influencers from all sides of the tech world, wanting to participate, which was really exciting for us. And so, yeah, I think 2 weeks we were just trying to figure out how we're going to execute everything, pulling all the pieces together, creating a lot of hype-based marketing on X,
Mm.
and sort of like getting that started, built some of that initial hype. But because I've gotten a lot of questions, people are like, how were you able to get 100,000 people to sign up? Like because that was what happened. So it was a month-long hackathon. So
Mhm.
most hackathons are about a weekend or, a few days, sometimes 24 hours. we did a 30-day hackathon, which is a marathon and not a sprint. And
Yeah.
so during that time, we had different bonus awards, different milestones. We were engaging with, all of the folks that signed up through Discord. And we were like, it was very, very fun. And to go back to what I was mentioning earlier, like, how did we get 100,000 people? I think it was like 120, 130 at the end of it, but it was through a few things. It was one, we worked with 20 different prominent like AI companies in the space that were using their networks and their channels to actually promote the event and create hype around it. But it wasn't just that. We created an AI builders pack where when you sign up, you were able to get access to all of these different tools for free or at no
Oh, cool.
cost. Right. And that's huge. So not only were they able to use Bolt for free for a whole month, but they were able to also tap into all of these other products as well. And that was huge. So that drove, I mean, a lot of people to sign up, right? So it wasn't just like getting them involved and were a sponsor, right? And it was like, no, like their product is going to be integrated into the hackathon. And so that made the difference. And then in addition, we had a massive panel of all of these amazing judges that also have very strong networks. And then we did a lot of paid. So if you mix paid, right, with like the fact that we're tapping into these
This
brands and we're
huge
tapping into this
beast.
you have this huge beast, and that's exactly how we were able to drive like awareness and signups in a very short amount of time. And then throughout the hackathon, because the CEO was like, okay, like now that it's started, we're good, right? It's all programmatic marketing. I'm like, first of all, it's all sketched out, so, okay.
It's
But
like, wait,
second of
what?
all, it's not
Uh-huh.
programmatic. You have to how are they engaging with the content? How are they doing in the hackathon? How can we help them, progress in their project? How can we like, right, all of that stuff? Yes, you can plan out ahead of time, but a lot of it requires you to be present with the community as they're building,
It,
right? And to understand that. And that's not programmatic.
yeah.
That's being present with them and then being like, okay, a week from now or 3 days from now, we're going to plan this piece of content or we're going to do this workshop with this speaker because there's so many of these questions that are coming up or these different roadblocks that, these builders are experiencing. So we got to find a way to address it. And that's not
Mm,
programmatic. Like you have to be present and understanding what's going on for you to create that and create that content within that 30-day window, if that
yeah.
makes sense.
That all comes back like almost full circle, just like the community management aspect of it. Like really have to be on top of it.
I remember that. I remember seeing the email. I think it was an email, and it had Jason Calacanis. I was like, "Whoa, this is no
Yeah.
joke." Like, all right. So I signed up, and it was a month. It was a month long. I was like, "This is freaking awesome. I'm just gonna go ham on some projects." And I think I had like four different ones. And we actually had Adrian on our podcast after he won, and he told us the story of the submission and everything, and which is pretty wild. Was the submission deadline was that on a Saturday?
It
You
was on
remember?
a weekend. Yeah,
It was
it
a
was
week.
on a
Okay.
weekend. And I remember it really well because the day we kicked off the hackathon, we were trending on X, and then the
Uh-huh.
last day of the hackathon, we were trending on X. And it was because
It was a
DevPost, which is the site we were like the platform we were working with, they handle a lot of the logistics of a hackathon went down because there were so many people trying to
Uh,
submit their projects. Fun fact, so in any like most hackathons, 70% of submissions come through within the last 24 hours. So even though it was like a 30-day, right, hackathon, most submissions came through in the last few days, especially in the last 24 hours. So the site went down. We were trending. People were pissed. They're like, I've been spending, and I was reading the comments. So like, I've been spending 100 hours on my project. Like, I
oh,
can't submit it. And I'm just like, I was like, oh my, and I'm like, it's not our fault that the site went down. Like, there was so much traffic. So it was just a matter of getting all the right folks on the call and being like, we have to find a way to extend this just so we can, like, and let's try and make it fair. Like, let's just say 1 more hour so that people have time to just get them across the finish line. And that really
mhm.
helped. And then after that, it was like the judging process, which is very intense. And then like planning the awards ceremony, which was really fun. But and then getting to see like Adrian's reaction live,
That's cool. Yeah, yeah.
and then we had like the winners in Times Square in New York City.
That's cool.
We did a whole like if you're really interested in learning more about the hackathon, we worked with Greg Eisenberg's team to do a 5-part docu-series on both Bolt and sort of the behind the scenes on the hackathon. And I talk a little bit more about that. But I think what I really loved the most about the hackathon is just who participated. It wasn't just developers, it wasn't just your indie hacker on X. It was such a range of folks. One of the days we did a demo day where we'd have people kind of show off what they're building. And, one second I'm talking to, someone who went to school to major in AI and works as an engineer at Netflix. And the next minute I'm talking to a mom of two who just had her second child
That's
and
really cool.
she's
I
on
love that
maternity
diversity.
leave. And all of a sudden, she's like, I need to build something that can connect me with other new moms, but like, I don't know how to build. I've never coded in my life. But I just decided to check this out because I heard about the hackathon, right? And I just want to try and build something here. So it was really cool to see like the everyday person kind of use Bolt and use a
Mhm.
tool like Bolt to create something that they couldn't find in the market. Like it was a lot of the times it's a very niche problem that can't be solved by another app or platform. And so, they are motivated enough as a builder to go and try and build it themselves. So that was really cool.
That's so awesome. I
That's
love that.
awesome.
It sounds like such a blast. All right, Mallory. Well, I know, we've been on here for a minute, but I want to ask you a little bit more about now that you moved on from Bolt and you're kind of taking your time to figure out your next steps. You did mention your next venture is going to most likely be opening up shop for yourself, right? And I think it was kind of sort of agency was the name of it. You want to give us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I am in the process of building my own marketing agency that is focused on, thank you,
Get it.
Connor.
Love
Thank you.
it.
Thank you, Connor.
Yes.
That's focused on brand marketing, community marketing, content marketing, right? So if you're someone that doesn't have a visual identity for your brand and you want to create something really cool, if you're someone who's like, how do I position myself in this market? Right? Or if you're looking to build your own community, especially a program at scale, or even just coming up with a content strategy, I would love to potentially work with you. And yes, it's called Kinda Sorta Agency. And I've been working on kind of pulling together the pieces over the last few weeks. And I've got a group of some amazing creatives that are kind of helping me bring it to life as well right now. And yeah, I mean, I've built a lot of things before, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I just want to kind of create cool shit and work with people in the consumer space that are looking to do the same. So we shall see. But
Yeah.
yes, that's
Based
what
on
I'm
your
up to.
track record, you got
Awesome.
it. You got it
Cool,
in the
cool.
bag.
Cool stuff.
Oh, yes, like if I can like help you launch something into space, I've done that as well. So if you're looking
Really?
to like, yeah, can I tell this story really quick?
Yeah,
Just really
yeah,
quick. Okay, sorry.
No,
Okay.
Mallory, you're out of time.
Sorry.
No
I
more.
know. You can cut this out. I just want to say it.
Go
I need to
for
cut it
it.
out.
Tell us.
Okay. One of my favorite marketing stunts that I've ever done is when I sent a plushie into space. I think this was like in 2021, 2020, when brands were just sending things into space and filming it. So I hired two like YouTubers that were weather ballooners to take the plushie, the mascot, and put it on an air balloon with a GoPro and launch it into space. So we did that. As it's descending back through the atmosphere, it falls onto, I'm not supposed to talk about this, but I don't care because it's been years. They told me not to. Okay. So then the plushie, you're like, who's they? Who's they? The
Brad, someone's
plushie
gonna knock on my door
falls.
later today.
I know. The plushie falls in the US Air Force Base. And so all of a sudden the weather ballooners get detained. And then they get detained. And then I get a message from some colonel military in like all caps. It was very scary of just like, is this like why did this thing just like fall on our Air Force Base? Like, are you trying to pull a marketing campaign? Like, just tell me about it. And at the time, Discord is a lot bigger. And I was like, if I tell legal, they're going to be so pissed. Like what I could get away with in the early days there with legal versus so I did not tell them. Okay. So eventually, I think they ran some tests on the plushie, but they let go of the weather ballooners and then they sent the plushie back to me and the GoPro. What we found out when we looked through the footage is that they cut out the last half of the footage of the plushie actually landing on the Air Force Base
Oh,
itself. So
Oh,
that doesn't
wow.
exist. But that video went viral and it was huge. And then on my way out, because I was also leaving Discord at the same time. So I was like leaving Discord, my team like pulled off this great stunt. I was like, great, what a wonderful way to like end my time here. And I had a call with the CEO And he's like, so mom, you're gonna leave. Like, I feel like you are like the soul and the brand of this company.
Uh,
And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was like, well, I just want to let you know that because he was asking about the stunt we just pulled. I was like, I want to let you know I was just talking to the military about it, and I decided to not include legal or anything. He's like, I think it was great. It was great. I loved it. I loved it. I was like,
that's awesome.
they
I
ended up
love that
finding about
story.
it months later and were pissed later. But anyways, if you
Ah,
want to
Well,
launch something into
okay.
space, I'm your girl.
you're
Hit
the
it up,
girl.
Mallory.
All right,
Or maybe,
cool.
actually, maybe I'm not your girl.
I guess it depends on the objective, but
Okay, I'm done with my
That's
random
badass.
stories.
Mallory, you're a badass. We've taken some of your time, so we appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, at Mallory Lore. You can follow me there, add me, or you can find me on X. I don't post there, but you can find me at Mallory Lore as well. So eventually I'll have
sweet.
a website and then you can really find me there. So
Love it.
Cool. Okay, okay. All right. Thank you, Mallory, for being on. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it,
thank
Mallory.
you. Thanks, Charlie. Thank you, Connor.